Hello everyone, can you all hear me? Please react with a yes if I am audible. Okay, great. So before starting the session, basically in the first 10 minutes, we'll just be getting we'll be launching some polls and also we'll be having interesting start to the session. So before we start formally, so what I'm going to do is, basically I'm going to play a short video, okay? And let's see. So just let me share my screen. Just give me 1 minute. So we'll start a session with a small game. Okay. So can you all see the screen? So I hope that the screen is visible to you. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to have a short game. So basically you will be shown a video and you have to count how many times the players that are wearing the wearing white color dress, they pass the basketball. Okay, so it's a short game, just an interesting way to start the session. So let me quickly start the video. Are you all ready? Okay, I guess your video is disabled. Rahul, uh, okay, I guess it's visible to me. Can you just reload? Am I visible to all of you? And is the screen clear to all of you? Okay. So fine. So let me just start the video. Okay, let's just start. Instead, one more suggestion to all of you. Instead of typing yes in the chat, since we have a lot of people, instead of typing yes in the chat, if you all react with a yes, that would be much better, right? If you all type yes in the chat will become cluttered. Okay. So, Sambit, basically, there are some players. So just see this video carefully. You have to count how many times the players wearing white. So wearing white colored dress, they pass the basketball. So Shawnma, we are just starting our session with an interesting kind of a puzzle. So you have to watch the video and respond to this question. Okay. So right after this question, we will be launching a quiz. So right after this question, right after this video, we'll be launching a short quiz and you have to respond to that quiz. Okay. So don't type anything in the chat now. So I will just disable the chat for a while. Okay. I'm not sure if that can be. Let me just check. Okay. I have just disabled the chat for a while. You don't have to send anything in the chat. So just let's get started. 3, 2, and 1.
How many passes did you count?
Okay. So let me just launch the poll if you were able to see the. Some of you react with the yes, we reacting with a no. That means the video was not visible. Okay. Can someone react with a yes if the video was visible clearly? Okay, some of you. So I guess that might be a connect. Okay, that's okay. So the fun part here was, so let me just replay the video. So the fun part here was, did anyone of you see the gorilla? So
correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla?
So how many of you saw it? Okay, it seems like those of you who could not see it, can you react with a no? The gorilla. Okay, okay. It seems most of you couldn't observe. So let me just replay. So now, did you see that this video had something that you couldn't see even while you were watching the video, right? Okay, so that's just the fun start to the session. So now let's formally get started. So I'll just enable the chat. So basically, since you people are seeing me for the first time, let me quickly introduce myself. Okay, just let me enable the chat. Okay. Fine. So basically, today's session is going to be a first session of the dev curriculum. Right, we are going to learn a lot of things. So basically, today's session is focused on some basic shell commands and basic intro to Git and GitHub. Right, since these two things you will be using during the course, right, during the next set of sessions. So let me briefly introduce myself since you are seeing me for the first time. So my name is Sahil Bansal, and basically I work at Scalar as an instructor and a software engineer. And I graduated from IIT Jammu. I'm not sure many of you would have heard of that institute either. Okay, so basically I take DS Algo sessions also for some of the batches used to take, and now I'll be taking your dev sessions for the next few weeks. Okay, and we'll be building some great app together, right? We'll be learning right from the scratch, from the very basics. So with that, let me also introduce, so basically we have two instructors out here today. There is one more instructor with us, Rahul. So Rahul, if you can also introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Rahul, and I have might taken your sessions. Yes, in September Super X batch, I was taking session for DSA. So some of you might know me. For those who don't know me, I am Rahul as again. I am a final year undergraduate student at IIT Patna. I have been to ACMIC PC regionals in my second year. I have interned at Coordination, Goldman Sachs, and Shipsy. I'll be your instructor also with Sahil. I'll mostly shadowing your sessions. I'll be available in the comment section. If you have any doubts, I'll be taking that up. So feel free to reach out if you have any problems. That's all.
Great. Thanks, Rahul. So let's, I think there's some kind of network issue. The voice seems to be clear to me. Anyone having any issues with the voice? No. Okay. Fine, it's clear to all of you. So I think let's get started in that case. So basically today's session is mostly about introduction to shell programming. Okay, so basically let me share my screen as well. Okay, so let me answer a couple of questions. Yeah, we have disabled the private option because it's better if you will send your queries in the public chat, and also side by side Rahul will also try to answer your questions. Okay, so if possible, Rahul, you could also answer like what language will be used. Okay, so yeah, Rahul has already answered that. Great. So let me just share my screen and let's get started. Okay. Yes, basically the sessions have been created on your dashboard. We'll go through that in a lot detail. So let me just briefly share my screen and tell you a bit about the curriculum. I hope the screen is visible to all of you. Can you all see the screen? Okay. So basically, see, let me briefly tell you about the session curriculum. Most of you are asking. So basically, the first session, today's session will be mostly on shell scripting and some basic intro to Git and GitHub, right? And Then we'll be discussing about Python in the next few sessions, and then we'll be starting with intro to web development. And after that, we'll be covering Django. Okay. So the next set of sessions after that will be, we'll also have a session on database. So we'll introduce you to what database is and what kind of queries you can write. Okay, your voice is breaking up. If it seems to be a network issue, let me just quickly check. Just give me one moment. Hi everyone, can you all verify once by reacting with a yes if I'm visible, audible clearly now? Okay, I guess it's better. Okay, sure. So basically, I was just introducing you to the curriculum that we will be going through. So today's session will be focused on some basic shell commands, and then we'll be discussing about Git and GitHub. Okay, and then we'll be discussing mostly Python from the next few sessions, and then we'll start with the web development part where we'll be learning Django. Right, in the intro to web dev part, we'll have some basic HTML, CSS, JS that will be required. Okay, so there is a lot to be covered. Okay, so let me briefly launch some polls here to get some better idea. So I will stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'll be launching some quick polls. Okay, so first of all, which operating system are you using? If we could get an idea of that, and so that would help us see how many people would be able to like write commands along with us. Okay, most of you are using Windows. Fine. Okay, so if anyone is facing some issues in the screen, kindly just you can switch off the video from your end as well. It might be a connection issue at some of your end. I have a dual boot Windows and Ubuntu. What would you suggest? So if possible, you could try using Ubuntu, but those of you who are on Windows, there is also a program that you can use. Yeah, you can use WSL. Exactly. Sean, that works for now. Okay. So I'll just quickly launch one more poll. So how many of you have worked with shell commands or terminal before? So just to get a better understanding of the audience, right? Okay, anyways, we'll be covering everything from the scratch here. So we'll be starting the basic commands that you will be using. So we'll be just starting with the session. Till now, there is nothing that has been discussed. Okay, fine. And just one more quiz. What is your experience with Python? So with Python programming language, how much do you all know? So this will help us to plan your next two sessions in a much better way. You can react with a no in that case. Can you all hear me now? So there is some connectivity issues. So basically, if you people face any issues at any time, I can either turn off my video maybe, or let me know. Okay, so I will share my screen, and now let's get started with the session. So basically, I will not spend more on more polls. So just these 3 polls are good enough to get started. Okay. So we might have some other in the end. Okay, so let's now get started. I will just share my screen, and if you could let me if anyone is not able to hear me, then please let me just give me one moment. Okay, cool. Okay, some of you are saying disable your video while sharing. Okay, I can do that. Fine. So let me share the screen once again. Please do not worry. Yeah. So let's now get started. I hope you can see my entire screen now. Please do react with a yes if my entire screen is visible now. Okay, awesome. Fine. So let me just get started. Okay. So I have just mentioned you the basic overview. Okay. Now, basically, what we are doing today, we will be learning about the motivation to do so. Okay. So the main motivation to learn shell commands and is basically they help you automate some of the tasks. Basically, they help you like you can write scripts that will generally that can automate some tasks. So basically, it's like learning a tool. It's like a tool that you will be learning, and you could apply it at many places, right? Okay, no voice. Voice is breaking. It's fine for most of you, I guess. Let me check the screen sharing properties. Just give me one moment. Okay, I think, can you all hear me now? Okay, so basically, I will start sharing the screen and I'll go without a cam. There seems to be some connectivity issues. So what I was saying is, what we are doing today is we are going to learn some basic shell commands, and like why we need to learn them, because they can help you write some basically by shell scripting. What we mean is we can write some scripts that can help us automate some task, right? It is basically a tool which you will learn and you will be able to apply it at many places. Okay, so we'll see some examples for that, and we basically want to uh, bring that excitement in you to explore these things on your own, right? Because there are a lot of shell commands, we will not be able to cover all of them, right? A lot of things to explore in this direction. So we'll basically be learning what is required for you to like at least start with any kind of development. Why? Because you will be dealing with a lot of files, and you will have to move to folders, move to directories, and also a lot of things you do right in your terminal, right? So that's basically why we are going to learn the basic shell commands. Okay, so what you can see here is I'm using this VS Code, and here you can see the terminal and this ZSH. So this is basically a type of a shell. Okay, so I hope the screen is visible, and am I audible? So I think there are issues with some of you. Rahul, if you could let me know in the chat to me if that's the case. Okay, it's okay. Fine. So let's continue. If some of you are facing an issue, please refresh the page. Okay. So Ankan, we will be telling you as time comes. Okay. So let's now continue. Today's session will basically focus on the basic shell command. So first of all, the question might come like, what is a shell program, right? So you might think of what exactly is a shell program. So basically it is nothing but an executable binary. Okay, so it's an executable file that basically takes in the command that you type as an input, right? And it's simply once you hit enter, it simply runs that command, right? And how exactly is that command run? It runs that command. It simply sends a request to your operating system. Okay, so you are using an operating system, right? So how exactly this run process happens is ultimately it gets translated to a system call. System call basically is system call is a call to the operating system. So the OS actually then handles this command. Okay, so this might seem a little complicated. So as we run the commands, it will become very much clear to you. Okay, so let's now basically see what kind of shell we will be using. There are multiple types of shell. Like if I just show you my VS Code terminal, it shows me a ZSH here. That means I'm currently on a ZSH shell. But what we will be learning is the bash shell, because it is the most common shell that comes installed mostly with your Windows or Linux operating system, right? Okay, so if everything is clear till this point, could you all please react with a yes? If anyone has any questions, can you please ask them right away? So we will try to respond. Okay, Aniket is asking what is the difference. There are some differences, right? We need not get into them. So basically, Bash is the most standard one, right? So that's why we will just stick with it right now. There are not major differences. There are just some non-functional type of differences. So you can explore on that, right? Okay. So now, if you did not understand exactly what I wrote about, basically what I mean to say is, it will just take in some command as input and give you some output. Okay. So very much like a normal Python program or a C++ program you write. It takes in some input, gives you some output. Now bash shell is gone by the name, like it's actually called as born again shell. So this might not be any helpful, just for your knowledge. Okay. So now, where do we all start when we learn a programming language? It's kind of a programming language. So I will just go to my shell. Okay. And currently I will be running the commands in this terminal. So I have opened a terminal. If you are on a Linux, you can directly open a terminal. Yeah. So basically, bash is a type of shell. So a shell program is this program that takes in the command as input and it runs this command. So there are multiple such shell programs, right? Just like there are multiple languages, we have multiple shell programs like bash, zsh, and some other, right? So let's not name all of them. Okay. Okay, fine. Awesome. So now see, we will be opening a terminal. So if you are on Linux, you can simply open the terminal directly. If you are on Windows, you can use WSL, right, as some of you said, or you could use the git bash, right? So you could just explore them. You need not run the command right away, or if you want to do with us, you can also go through an online shell, right? So you can simply search for an online shell, and maybe Rahul can share this link in the chat, right? Item versus terminal in Mac, Yogeshwar, let me not comment on that. Okay. So item is actually more customized. Okay. So now without any further ado, let's now get started into writing some commands. So what is the first command that you all use all do when you learn a programming language? You simply try to print hello world. So I'll try to do the same. So there is this command that is echo. So it simply takes in some input and you simply return the same as the output. Okay. So what you did, you simply typed a command into the shell. So let me say echo, and then this command takes in some argument. So this is the argument it takes, that is some text in double quotes. Now whenever you press hit enter, so the output you can see underneath. What happens is what I wrote in the in this note. So it simply takes in the command, and once you hit enter, it simply translates it to a system call which is sent to the operating system. Okay, so that is what happens underneath. So with this, any doubts? How many of you are able to run this command along with us? So I will also take a pause and see if you also get a chance to run the command exactly at that time. Okay. Yogeshwar, you need not download item. You can use terminal directly. Yeah, echo is same as print statement or the cout statement. Exactly. If possible, it's better to ask questions in the common chat, because Rahul will try to answer them as and when. Okay. Because it might not be possible for me to switch between the terminal and the chat so often. Okay. So anyone, please don't ask any questions in the private chat. Please ask it in the public. Okay. So if the echo command is clear to all of you, then let's see some other types of command. Let's say we want to list all the files in our current directory. Then what can we do? We just want to know what files are there in this folder. So I can simply say ls. So ls simply means list the files. Okay, so this is just a shorthand notation. So now with that, I have a short quiz for you. So I'll launch a very short quiz. It's an interesting one. So why are shell commands so short? Okay. So Fine. So actually, see, this ls command, it's not that easy to remember, right? So they are short just because you want to type them faster, right? Okay. So if this ls command is also clear to you, it simply lists the files that are present in this directory. So if I show it to you, see that this folder scalar hdev has just one single file, note.txt. So when I hit a ls, it simply shows me that file. Okay. So now how do I create a new file? So for that we have a command to create a new file. I can simply say touch and let's say the command name. So I will say that hello world.txt. Okay. So now what this will do, it will create a new file. So now if I do ls, what will I get in the output? So basically you see that I get both these files in my output. Okay, so is everything clear till this point? We have just seen two very simple commands, right? Echo and ls. Now let us say that we also want to create a directory. So how do we go about that now? So if we want to create a folder, not just a file. So with this command we have created a file, right? But if we want to create a folder, there is a command for that. That is the mkdir command. Okay, that allows you to create a directory right from the terminal. So what I can say, let's say hello, and let us say shell scripting. So I will create a folder that's named as shell scripting. So now if you hit ls, now you will be able to see that there are two files in this directory, scalar hdev, and there is one folder that you can see in blue, that is the shell underscore scripting. Okay. So how many of you are able to follow along? Like you are able to run the commands with us? Okay. If anyone is facing any doubts, please do ask. Okay, so the touch command basically is used to create a new file, right? And ls simply prints the files in that directory. Fine. So now let us just continue. So I could see that most of you are able to follow along. So let's now clear. So clear is just another command that simply allows us to clear the page. So just so that you can see the commands on the top. Okay. So if it's clear till this point, let's say that we want to go inside our directory. So we created this shell scripting folder directory. Now if we want to go inside this, what can we do? So we can simply say cd stands for change directory. So now we can simply say cd and then shell scripting. And if you see that you generally can press a tab key to auto complete the command. Okay, so this shell is very intelligent. So basically you can like if you just press sh and then you can simply press tab to complete the command. Okay, so if you are using bash, you might not be able to see this right side part. Okay, so you can simply say shell scripting, and if you hit a enter, what will happen? You see that your current path has changed. Now on the top you can see that it is we are inside this shell scripting folder. Okay, awesome. So now we have seen a couple of things: how to create a folder, create a file, move inside a folder. Okay, so how do we print the current working directory? Like this we can see although at the top, but let's say we want to give this as an output. So there is a command for that too. If we simply say pwd, it will simply print the location to this file, right? So we'll simply get the current directory, that is we are inside this inside workspace, inside scalar hdev, inside this in the shell scripting folder. It gives the absolute path, that is starting from the root. Okay, so if some of these terms doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. We will not become an expert in one day. As you try running these commands on your own later on, like you bring these things to habit, then only you will be able to recollect them, learn them, and appreciate them, right? So pwd is simply print working directory. Okay, so its full form is print working directory. not all commands we can simply remember, right? So this has a simple acronym, that is print working directory for PW. Okay. So if everything's clear till this point, now how do we copy the files or move the files? Okay, so we have created some files, we have listed some files. Now if I also want to see what all are the hidden files inside a given folder, okay, so let's say you want to know what all hidden files are there, right? Can you somehow see them using the ls command? Exactly. So most of you have answered this. So what we can simply say is ls minus a, that simply gives us all the hidden files as well. So whatever are the hidden files, they are generally represented by a dot. Okay. And simply a dot means that if I just do cd dot, what it does is it takes me to the same file, it takes me to the same directory. It does not change anything. So dot is a special file, you can say, that takes us to the same place, right? It's not going to change the directory. And when we see cd dot dot, what happens? Dot dot will take us to the previous the parent directory. So this shell scripting has a parent folder, that is killer is there. If I do cd dot dot, I will go one folder back, right? So you see that we now come to a workspace / scalar edge dev. Okay, so till this point, are things making sense? Okay, fine. So now we have seen this ls minus a command. Let me just maybe create a hidden file and show it to you. So I will just create a file that starts with dot. So let's say that dot hidden. Now if I just go to this folder, right? So you can see that it will not be showing you this hidden file. Can you see this hidden file? No, right? So you can't see this hidden file, right? Are you able to see this dot hidden? No, right? So if you do ls minus a, then what will happen is you will be able to see this hidden file as well. So this minus a, this with minus sign, what happens? You can specify some additional properties, additional parameters, right? These are known as options. So this a is an option to the ls command. Okay. So there is another such option, that is minus l. So with this option, what you see is you can see the permissions for a file. This is not required right now. You can see the owner of the file, that's also not required, and you can see the size of the file. So this 0 means that this file has 0 size. You can see the file size in bytes, right? This is 64 bytes. Okay. Since hello world.txt was empty, it has 0 size. And you can see when it was last modified. So it's a long listing format. So that's what the minus L option does for us. Okay, so there is a very good command, that is man. So this man command, simply what it is the manual. Okay, so if you just say man ls and hit enter, you can see that what this command is, what this command does. Okay, and you can also see some of the options that are included. So you see that this minus a option includes directory entries whose name begin with a dot. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now let's continue. Can we create hidden directories? Right, others. You can try that. That will be great. Abhijit, that's not required. You can explore that. Fine. So now what we are going to do next is we are going to move the files here and there. So let's say that I want to copy this file node.txt and take this inside the shell scripting folder. So in that case, what can I do? So I can simply say cp node.txt and move it inside shell scripting. So this cp command is the copy command. It takes in the first argument, what file you are trying to copy, And the second is where you are trying to copy it. So I am trying to copy this node.txt inside shell scripting directory. Okay. So if I just hit enter and if I do ls, now what is going to be the output? Now you see that this node.txt is already is still there, right? Because we copied it, we did not move it. Now if I go inside shell scripting and then I do ls, now I should be able to see that node.txt is present here. So you see that with terminal you can also move files here and there, right? So it will be very much useful once we start building a application, once we start doing development, because there we will be using some kind of an environment, like some kind of an editor, and generally we'll be working with terminal. We'll not be working with GUI anymore, right? That is why we need to learn these, we need to practice these shell commands. Okay. So if this makes till this sense till this point, I will be launching a very simple quiz. Okay, let me launch a very simple quiz. So you might not know the answer, but let's just see what your intuition says. So let us say that you want to list all the files whose names start with a given word. How would you do it? Man ls command not found in bash. Pitalas Prashant says, okay. Prashant, I'm not sure. I think that should be there. Okay. So basically, what we have asked you as a quiz is, with the ls command, we want to see all the files that start with the word bash. Okay, so let me just create some files. Let's say that bash1.sh. So this sh extension is actually used to create shell files. Okay, shell scripts to be more specific. And let's say touch bash underscore 2.sh. Okay. So now what I want to do is, in the ls output, I do not want all the files. Rather, I just want the files that start with a given word. In this case, that start with the word bash. So what I can do, I can simply say bash and then the star. Now what does this expression mean? If you see, it's actually a regular expression. I'm not sure if most of you have heard of it. That's fine. What it simply means that the first four letters should be bash in the file name. It simply is an expression that is matched with all of these names. Okay. So this star keyword, this is a special keyword. It means there could be anything after this. Okay. After the word bash, there could be anything. So if I just hit enter, you see that I will see all the files that start with the word bash. So it will simply compare this with all the names and see with which of them it matches, right? You see that if we compare bash star with node.txt, it won't match, right? Because the first letter should be a B, but it's a N. Does that make sense? Yogeshwar, I could not get it exactly. Okay, Harsh is asking BA star will work. So BA star might not work. Why? Because there could be another file, let's call it BA underscore 2.sh. Now if we do the same command, if we see ls and if we repeat the same command, you see that you will get this also, but this does not start with the word bash. Okay, it starts with the word BA, right? Cool. So I hope it makes sense till this point. So just try these commands. Like we might not be able to cover each and every variation. We'll learn what is sufficient for you to to the extent that you will be using in your future sessions. Okay. So now we learned about the cp command. Similarly, there is one more command, and before that I will show you one interesting command. So what do you think this does? Cd with a hyphen. Anyone who would like to make any guesses? What does this command do? Cd with a hyphen. We have seen cd dot dot. We have seen cd dot, it does nothing. Cd dot dot takes us to the parent directory. Now what does cd hyphen do? No. Yes, Rishabh, you are correct. And Aryan, you are correct. Nandini, that's incorrect. Not the home directory, the last previous directory. Exactly. So if we just do cd with hyphen, what will happen is it will take us to the previous working directory. So to elaborate on that a little bit more, let's say I do cd and I just go to some, let's say desktop. I go to desktop. Now I go to workspace, scalar edge dev. Let's say that now I try to run cd hyphen. So if I do cd dot dot, where will it take me? It will take me one directory back, that is to workspace, right? If I do cd shell scripting, it will take me forward. If I do cd dot, it won't take me anywhere. It will remain the same. But if I simply do cd hyphen, it will take me to the previous working directory, right? The previous directory where I was at. So just see that I will get to desktop now. So this is a very handy command that comes useful sometimes, right? So this is one of the commands which most people do not know. So I hope you will remember this now. Okay, awesome. So now let me get back to the previous directory. I can again press the same cd hyphen. It will take me to the previous directory. Okay, awesome. So now we have explored some ways of navigating directories and listing the directories. Listing the files. Let's now see another important command that will help us to move the file. So now let's say I want to move this hello world.txt inside shell scripting. So then what I can say mv. Just like cp, there is another command mv, that is for moving a file. So I just want to move this file inside the shell scripting folder. Okay, so by just doing this, if you press a ls, you will see that this hello world.txt no longer exists here. So if I go into shell scripting now, I will be able to see that the file hello world.txt is present over here. And if I go back and print it, I won't be able to see it, right? So that was the move command. I hope that made sense. Very much similar to cp. So now we have come across some ways of organizing our files, right? So what exactly we are going to do now is we are going to do something very interesting. So before that, I will tell you two or three more important commands, and then we will do some interesting exercise. So Shonma and Siddharth, there is this cd tilde command that is different from cd hyphen. So there are two things. Cd hyphen takes you to the previous working directory, the previous directory where you were, right? So you came to scalar edge dev from scalar edge dev shell scripting. So that's why this cd hyphen takes you back. And if you do cd tilde, it takes you to the home directory, right? This tilde takes you to the home directory, and hyphen takes you to the previous directory. Okay. So if I just do cd hyphen, it will take me to the previous directory. So I hope that makes sense. Can you show mv command? Okay. Just scroll up if possible. So mv command is very similar. You can simply say mv file name and then the folder where you want to move it. So currently we don't have another folder here. So let me just create a new folder. So we can say mkdir temp. So let's create a temp folder. Now what we will do is we will move this file hello world.txt inside this temp directory. So I can say mv, the file that we are trying to move, and where we want to move it. So we want to move it inside inside the temp directory. Okay. So I hope that makes sense now. Awesome. So now let us say that we want to see the contents of this file. So we have this node.txt file, and I do not want to go to my text editor to see the contents. So what I can do to explore this file right here in the terminal. So there are two commands. or rather there are multiple such commands, each having some specific purpose. So the first one that we are going to see is cat command. So cat, and then we'll simply say the file name. So let's say that we said node.txt. So by cat, what can you recollect? Can you recollect anything? So see, there is these two terms in computer science, concatenate. So by cat, you can think of catenate, and that can remind you of concatenate. Okay. So like you are simply trying to concatenate or like print everything to the terminal itself. Let me just zoom out a bit. So you see that you can now see the contents of this file right here in your terminal. Okay, awesome. So, but if you see, if you have a large enough file, it will print the entire content. That will be hard to read, right? So what if you want to see only some part of it, see less of it? So then there is another command that is less. You can say less and then the file name. So let's say that less and not.txt. Now you see that you have not explored the entire file. Okay. So let me just repeat this part. So this cat command simply displays the entire content of the file at one go. Okay. It will display the whole of the content in one go. But there is another command, that is less command, that will allow us to see less of that file. So let's say less not.txt. Now you see that we are only able to see till this point. So what if we want to go to the next section of this file next after the last that we can see here? So there are two ways. Either you can press the up and down arrow keys, right? Up and down arrow keys, or you can press a space. So if you hit a space, you will simply go to the next content that will fill your screen. Okay. So it will be easy to explain when we have a large enough file. So let's get to the next exercise and then we will see this in action. Okay. So just give me one moment. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you one more interesting command. That is, so let's say if you want to see the contents of google.com. So when you hit google.com in your browser, you are rendered some web page is rendered in your browser. Okay. So this curl command is simply used to see the URL. So by curl, you can simply remember it like CURL. By curl command, you can remember it like CURL. When you hit enter, you can simply see that some of the source code of this file of this web page google.com is visible to you, right? You see that some HTML content is visible to you. If you don't know what it is, we will cover it in the next session. Do not worry, right? So you see that you can see I am feeling lucky over here, right? The exact button that appears in the google.com page. So with this curl command, you can actually also download this. So how do you download this content, this source of google.com? You can simply say curl CURL and you can say the output file. Let's say we want to output it to google.html. And now let us provide the path, the URL. Okay. So this URL we want to see and we want to output it into this HTML file. So let me just hit enter. Now you can simply see you can download a web page site into your file directly. So if you just see the contents of google.html, you will be able to see that the exact same HTML is loaded over here. And now if you hit spaces, you will be able to see the difference, right? Okay, so you can hit a space to go to the next page, right? It's like you are visiting one page at a time. In this less command, you can hit the back keyword to move back. Okay, B button, more specifically B and the space. So now what we are going to do is we are going to give you a URL. So I will just type that here. You have to download that URL. So it's a text file. Everyone, please follow this along. We'll be having a short quiz right after this. So this is the exact URL that you have to visit, tilde EC price. Okay, / I'll just copy this in the chat section. Just give me a minute. So all of you, please try to just download the content of this to a text file. If you just open this in a browser, you will see that it has a list of words. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to save these to a words.txt file. Initially we did curl, next time we did curl -o. Right, exactly. So all the source code gets copied to the HTML file. Exactly. So when we do curl -o, it simply means that we are providing this option that you now have to download this content to a file, right? So if you just do a curl, right, if you just do a curl on this, then what you will see is the entire content gets printed right away in your terminal, right? But if you want to save this somewhere, so that's where you can specify the output file. So now whatever is the content, oh sorry, I think those words got copied. Let me just, voice is breaking. Okay. Let me just check. I have a little bad internet connection. So let me try to check. Okay, so if it happens again, just to let me know. So what we want to do is we want to simply download this to a words.txt, and let me just specify this URL which got missed here. So now you see that you have downloaded this file into your current directory, this words.txt. If you simply do a less command here, you will be able to see that all these words you are able to see that were there on this page. Okay. So isn't this exciting? Right from the terminal, you are able to download files and see the content of them, right? So I'll just launch a very simple quiz. It's saying permission denied. So curl command is simply used to download this. Yogita is asking what is curl command. It simply is used to uh, show the content of this page either right into your terminal. So if you just do curl with this, it can show, okay, so the H got missed, the content of this web page right into your terminal, or you can save it to a output file. So with the -o command, you can specify the output file. So let me just launch a very simple quiz. You have to use this words.txt file. So please make sure all of you have downloaded this. Can all of you react with a yes if you are following along? Okay. So it seems some of you are lagging behind. Curl is not working. I'm using Linux. So what is the exact issue you're facing, Utkarsha? How to exit less? Okay, Anurag, see what you can do is press Q or press escape. So if I just do less words.txt and if I just press a Q or press a escape, both of them would work. Or I think only Q should work. Fine. In that case, you can simply press a Q button. Okay, Q keyword. Costa, where exactly you are stuck? Please, everyone, try to elaborate your issues. So if some of you are having any issues with this command, you can simply go to this URL and copy this in a location where you will be running the next command. So you can simply go to this URL and simply save it. Do a command S or control S. Okay. Okay, then in that case, you can all skip that if that is the case, or Pratik, you can just Try to create the file manually in that case, Pratik, using a touch command. Okay. So let's now launch a very simple quiz. So those of you who are not able to download this, please do save this file right from your browser, right? You can try the curl command after the session also. That's not an issue. Okay, so now see, the quiz was a little tricky. You have to get inside this file and you have to search for a particular word. How do you do this? So there is one more thing in less that we simply did not go through. So what you can do is you can press this forward slash, right? Right at the bottom, you can see that I have pressed this forward slash keyword. You can press this, and after that what you can do, you can simply give some keyword. So let's say hello. Now it will simply search that word and give the first occurrence. If you want to go to the next occurrence, you can you can type n. So it says that pattern not found. That means there is only one word hello in this file. Right after this word hello, you can see the word helmet, right? Let's try to search for some other word. Let's try to search for the word Python. So in that case, you can see that this is the Python word that you get. After this, we have Q. Okay. And let's press Q to exit this output of the less command. Okay. So now you see that how easy it becomes to search for words and files also through the terminal, right? Okay. So now we have seen couple of interesting ones. Okay. But there is one more command that is the most dangerous of all. Okay. So what we are going to see next is actually one of the dangerous commands. So let's say if you want to remove everything from this folder. So what I would do is I would first make a copy of this. So we can also copy entire directories. So let's say that I want to copy this shell scripting folder right into a new folder that has, let's say, some other name, shell scripting 2. So I can simply say cp, and then let's try to see what happens if we do it in the same way, right? So if I run this, then what happens? It says shell scripting is a directory, not copied. So what actually you can do is you can put an option here -r. What this does is it simply says that you can go inside this and copy each and every file into this shell scripting 2. So it's actually a recursive copy. What it will do is it will go through every file in this and copy it inside shell scripting 2. So let's now do this. So you will see that the shell scripting 2 folder directory is also made for us right away, right? So even if this second file or folder does not exist, it gets created, right? So just try to explore these things, right? So if I just go inside shell scripting 2, then I can see that all these files which were there in shell scripting are there in the shell scripting 2 folder. So it was a recursive copy. That's why this -r option. Every file inside shell scripting was copied and moved to this directory. Okay, so now if we want to remove a file, right? So this generally happens when we are working with large code bases and we accidentally create a file, we want to just delete it. So what we can say is rm, and then we can say the file name. So let's say I want to remove ba_2.sh. Okay. So it simply asks me, actually I'm using Z shell. So you can see in bash, it won't actually ask you, I suppose. So you can simply say y here and it will remove this file. So now, did you understand the rm command? It's very simple, similar to cp, mv and cp and mv commands. Just that you have to give only one single argument here, that is which file you are trying to remove. Okay, so with that, let's see one of the most dangerous commands of all. Let's say I want to delete everything from here. In that case, what can I do? Then I'll have to simply say rm bash_1.sh. I'll have to keep supplying the file names, right? Rather than that, there is one more way. Yeah, exactly. You can say that rm start. So let's say if we do this, it'll ask us, sure, you want to delete all 6 files here? Let's say why. And then it's again asking actually. So if I were to do this in a bash shell, it won't have asked me, right? But currently it's asking me. So now you see that all the files have been deleted, right? So this star was a regular expression, but there is one observation you can make, that the temp directory still lives inside this folder. So what could have been the issue? Exactly, Brahm Teja. So this second keyword after rm, just like ls, it could be a regular expression, right? It currently says me that there are no matches found, right? Okay, yeah. So how do you remove directories? So just we saw that to copy directories, what we have to do to copy the directories. Let's say we copied shell scripting into shell scripting 2. We had to say cp -r. Similarly, to remove the directories, we have to say rm -r and then the directory name, right? So then we can simply delete the directory. Okay. So these commands, when working with directories, we generally have to pass -r as an option. Okay, so does that make sense to all of you? Okay. So now one more interesting exercise that we are going to do is we are going to simply count the words. So let's say that we go back to the shell scripting folder. Okay. And now what we want to do is we simply want to count how many words are there in this file words.txt, right? So if we just do a cat, it will show all the words, right? But what we want to do, we want to count. So there is a command for that too, that is wc, right? It simply stands for word count. So let's just do wc words.txt. So you can simply see that this has 10,000 words. And if you see these, there are 3 things here you can see, right? So let's just do a man of this command and see what exactly it is. So it simply shows us the word, line, character and byte count. Okay. So currently it shows me that there are 10,000 words, 10,000 lines, and this is the byte size. Okay. The characters, sorry, the characters. Currently I'm able to see three outputs, the words, lines, and the number of characters that are there in total. Okay. So let's say if we want to find out words that match a given pattern. Okay. So we have this words.txt file. We want to count the words that match, that maybe match with the word py, let's say. So what will we do? Will we go over this file and just count it manually by pressing n to go to the next word? Or there is a simpler way? What do you think? Yes, Shivam, we will talk about that. So to search for a word, you can simply go to the output of less and press the forward slash and then type the pattern that you want to match. So it simply finds that in a substring. It tries to match this pattern. By matching, what we mean is it just tries to see if any word has this as its substring, right? So anything could come before it, anything could come after it. You can see that these words are matching. Right? Slash py, and let's see, try to do n. You can see that these all words have been matched. So yeah, so now the question we were trying to answer is we want to count such words. We know about the word count, we know about the less command. Can we somehow combine these two commands? What do you all say? So there is a concept known as piping. So what that does is you can simply say less of this, okay, and then, but if you say pipe with word count, it will simply be running this word count command on the output of this. So first, let me tell you what this piping concept is. So it simply take the output of the first command, give it as an input to the second command, right? So it simply gives us the same output as wc words.txt, right? If you just compare, the only difference you see that this words.txt is not visible in the first command. So what this command, less command used to do for us, it simply used to print the words, print the output of the file, and this output we are taking as an input for wc command, right? So this pipe command does nothing but takes an input from one, output of one as an input to the other command. So now we wanted to count. So somehow we have to filter the words starting with py in the left side command, right? Okay, Harsh, let me just repeat this concept. So it is simply we want to simply find the words that start with pi. So there is another command for that we will be using. So let's just first go through that command and then come back to this pipe concept. So there is a command that helps us find words matching a given pattern. It does is it simply finds the words that match a given pattern. So it simply is finding all the words that have py, right? So if we were to write a kind of regular expression, it would be something like star py star, anything before py, anything after py, right? So with this grep py words.txt, what I'm doing exactly is I'm doing a global regular expression print, right? So this is the shorthand notation for this command. It simply takes a file or something as an input. So this words.txt is taken as an input. It tries to match this py pattern in this file, right? So this is also one of the important commands, right? This grep command. Now what we want to do is we have found out these words that match this pattern. We want to give this as an input to the word count command, right? So now you can see that there are 12 words that match the pattern py, right? So what exactly have we done here? We have taken this output and we have just given it as an input to the wc command, right? So this is the basic concept of piping, that take output from one command and give it as an input to the other command. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to count the words that have py in them, right? So all of you give this a quick try and see if you're able to work this out, right? Take the same words.txt file and see if you are able to understand this concept. Okay, so we'll take a 2 minutes kind of pause. If you have any questions, we can take them up. Rahul will also be answering them. I will also try to take up any common questions. Okay, so it seems like there are no questions. Harsh, are you clear with this concept? Uh, Aniket, uh, can you just repeat your question, Aniket? Prashant, what part do you want me to repeat? Grep, okay. So what grep does is, let's say, I want to find out the words that match hello into this file words.txt. So there is just one word that matches this hello. So if I say we want to find out the words that match he as a pattern. So you see that all these words that come to you, they have he as a substring, right? So this he word comes as a substring. That simply means there could be nothing, there could be anything to its left, anything to its right. So it's just trying to match this pattern in this file and just give the output. So it will print the output by matching all the input that it has with the pattern. So that's why it's actually global regular expression print. It can be used in different ways. We are just seeing one of the use cases in our scenario, right? Okay, so if that makes sense, uh, let me just launch a very simple quiz. So I have simply launched a simple quiz so that you can just check your understanding till this point. So out of 100 students, only 75 have answered. Does that mean others are not able to understand? So if you have any questions, please do ask. Don't hesitate. So we'll try to answer each and every question. Athar, what part did you not understand? Aniket, I did not get your question. How can we put this in other file? Brahmteja, the three terms in WC, if you see, the first is the word, second is the number of lines, third is the number of characters that we have. Okay. Fine. So we have seen some of the very basics, right? I think this should be good enough for us to move ahead, right? So now just one more thing I would tell, like that might be useful. So we have the shell scripts, right? So what exactly happens is we have a file. So let's say we want to execute multiple commands in one go. So what we could do is we could create a file. We could create a shell file. Like here you can see that we have bash underscore one.sh, right? So what we could do, we could simply go inside this file. I'm using this Vim editor maybe, and let's say I'll write down some commands. Let's say I write down echo and hello world, and maybe let's say then I say echo. So you could also create variables in this using the dollar keyword. So let's say dollar equal to 3. And one thing you have to make sure is you do not give spaces around the equality sign, right? So just like normal programming languages, this is known as shell programming, where you simply write down commands in shell inside a file and then you can execute that. Okay. So, and then let's say that we just want to print the value of this variable echo $a. Okay. Let me just save this file. Now I will just try to run this file. Okay, so you can see that line 3 equal to 3 command not found. So maybe let me just do one thing. Let me try to change my shell. Just give me one moment. You can just ignore the last part. So let me just say what I'm going to do currently is, let's first see the contents of the bash1 file. Okay, it's $a equal to 3. Now we are simply going to run this command. Equal to 3 is not found. Okay, so basically what we have to do is we have to use this inside a single quote. Okay, yeah, now it should work. We have to treat this as a string. Let me just check if the file is saved. Or let's just remove this echo statement once. Just give me one moment. So I think that's not required right now. I guess there is some other syntax that we have to declare variables. That won't be yes, Rahul.
I think you can remove the dollar sign. Dollar sign was creating issues,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, cool. So basically we do not need the dollar sign to just initialize the variable. We just need it while we are trying to print this. So I hope now the concept of a file shell script makes sense. So basically we can write a big piece of shell code. So there are a lot of things that we can do there that we won't be going into that detail because that won't be required right away. So let me just do one thing. Let me just reopen my terminal. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so Atharv, if you are using Vim editor, you can say escape :w q. I think that's not required. You can try some text editor directly. Okay, so now let's get into this folder. So we do not have anything here. I think we created it inside the shell scripting folder. Okay. Fine. So if I just list the content of bash_1.sh, you see that we just have declared a variable and we're just trying to print it, right? So we can run our bash command using bash_1.sh. So bash followed by the file name. So now there is one interesting thing that there is a file that generally loads up during the start of your shell. So whenever you open your shell, there is actually a file that you have in your home directory. So if you just see the content, or let's just say cat /bash_profile. So if you just go and see, there is a file that allows you to specify some configuration. Okay, so I think this might not be required. Just one thing I wanted to explain, but I think that might not be required at this point. So what we are going to do is we are simply going to skip some portion here because that might not be directly required to you. We will cover it if we feel that's required. Okay. So you have understood some of the very basic commands. Let me just do a very quick recap of what we have learned this. So we started off with the echo command, right? So I'll just do a brief recap for you so that we don't get lost. We have seen a lot of commands today, right? And I know it's difficult to remember them all. So I'm not going to flood you with a lot more of them. So let's just briefly recollect. We started with echo. Then we discussed the ls and the cd. So I'll just list down some of the very basic commands. mv, ls, cp. Then we saw the working, creating a directory and creating a file. And then we saw some commands like curl to download some location on the web. We saw the files to list the files, cat and less. Okay. And then we also saw some files to remove the files. Similarly, there is this command known as rmdir, right? So you can also use rm -r to remove the content of a directory. You can also do rmdir. Okay. You can just explore on this. Then we discussed grep, wc, and we discussed about piping. Okay. And finally, we discussed about a shell script that is a .sh file for bash. Okay. Okay. So now I would just go through the last point that I was telling, right? So that actually is an interesting point because most of you would be using it. So for that, actually, I have to switch my shell. So let me just go to the bash shell once again. Okay. Just give me one moment. Okay. So there is one variable that we have. If you see, you can see an entire path here, that is your current working directory, your username, some tilde sign. Let's say you want to customize it. So has anyone ever tried to customize this thing? You might have been using terminal, but did you ever try to customize this? No. Okay, some of you have tried it. So see, how does that happen? Basically, there is a variable that is a environment variable. We will see very briefly about this so that you have a basic idea of this, right? So this ps1 is a variable that actually is this gives you this prompt that you see, this shell prompt that you see, right? Now, what is so special about this? So basically, this is an environment variable. Now what that means is somehow rooted to one of the files that we have. So let's say that there is a file. Let me just show you. So it's tilde/dot bash rc or dot bash profile in my case. Okay. Yeah. So basically, let me just do a cd tilde. Just give me 1 minute. First of all, what kind of file is bash profile? Is it a visible file? Is it a hidden file? If it's a hidden file, react with a yes. If it's a visible file, react with a no. Let me just do one thing. Create a new bash profile. Let me just copy this to a different file, tilde slash. Fine, just give me 1 minute. So actually, I'll create a new file and then show the contents. Just one moment. Fine. So I hope the screen is visible again. Let me. Okay, so what we are going to see here is we are going to see this bash profile file, and what's so special. Okay, this is not a directory. So when you try to do cd on a directory, it simply says you that it's a cd on a file. It says you it's not a directory, right? Because change directory command is just used for files. So let me just show you this file bash profile, and here you will be able to see that this export ps1 is used, right? So actually ps1 is the variable name that is a global variable kind of, right? So we have seen that we could initialize variables like this a equal to 3, and if I just print it echo with $a, I can get the value, right? So now there are some variables that we did not define, right? This variable did we define in the first code? No, right? So these variables, there are two types of variables. One are the shell variables, right? And the other ones are the environment variables. So let me just uh, write it here. So these environment variables are actually set when you start your shell, right? When you start the terminal, what happens? There is a file, bash profile, from where all of these get loaded, right? So this is kind of a configuration file, right? You can use some other text editor to open this. I'm using the Vim text editor. Here you can see that I have some variables which you can see that ps1 is one among them. So I have said that export ps1 is this variable, and we have a path variable here as well, right? So now this path variable is actually one such special variable again. So let me just show it to you, and it will be very much clear. So you see what exactly this path variable is. It contains a lot of information, and you see there are these directories, and after these directory we have a colon, and again we have some directory, and again we have a colon, again we have some directory, again we have a colon, right? So this path variable allows us to store the locations where the commands reside. So like this ls command we do, it will be in some folder, right? It is an executable file kept in some particular location on our machine, right? So this path variable allows us to set all those locations from where we can find such executable files like the ls command, right? So let's say you install a new software, and then what happens, you have to change your path variable if you want to run that software using a command in the terminal, right? If it provides you with an executable file, you can specify the path in the path variable, right? So these variables that are initialized when you start your shell, these are the environment variable, right? So I know this might not have made so much of sense. You can try to explore this a little bit on yourself. This we won't be using that much, right? So apart from the above few commands, like we will hardly be using any further commands, right? So only these few commands are there that we would be generally using in our few sessions. So that's why I'm not going into too much detail in this shell command. So you can also explore, there is a site known as bash rc generator, so that you can try exploring, so that you can customize your shell prompt, right? So whatever you can see here, you can customize this shell prompt, right? So this shell prompt that you're seeing, the current directory, the name of the user, all this you can customize, okay, using the ps1 variable. So let's say if I just say export $ps1 equal to some value, let's say, okay, I need to give it, let me try this. Yeah, so I need not put a dollar sign, the same mistake that we made earlier. So if we just say export ps1 as this, now you see that my shell prompt has changed, right? All of you can try this command. You can just, but make sure you have a copy of your previous ps1 variable. So what you could do is you could simply say echo $ps1. So currently it will show me the current shell prompt. Now, once I restart my shell, if I just close this and restart, and let me just do one thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in into the shell again. So then what you will see that your shell prompt that you changed to scalar underscore edge, it has changed again, right? So if I just go to workspace slash scalar edge dev, you see that the shell prompt has become the same again. So that is the one more difference between a shell variable and the environment variable. So these shell variables, they will be reset after you restart your shell, right? That is why we have a bash profile file in case of Windows or Mac OS. Generally in Linux you see that we generally have a bash underscore rc, so both are almost the same. Okay, sorry, dot bash rc. So just this part we are not going to too much depth because that won't be required. Okay, so with that, actually we have discussed what was necessary for shell scripting. So let me just launch one more quiz for you to see that if you are able to understand the grep command and the basically word count command. So you have this words.txt file, you have to find how many words are there that are matching the pattern, just so as to recap one of the commands. Okay, great. So basically I think we already have spent a couple of time here. Then we'll not be going into version control today. So what we will do is we will start version control fresh from the next session. So if you have any doubts, mostly they would have been resolved, or if still anything is not clear from these, you can ask right away. So just try all these commands. We will be adding some references. So there will be some references that will be added in your extra reference material section on the dashboard. So just go through that and try to answer some of the quizzes, right? Try to answer some of the assignment problems. So there are two assignment problems given to you that are based on these, not exactly these shell commands, but some shell commands that you have to read from the references, right? So if you face any doubts, we could discuss them in the next session. And basically that is it mostly from the session, that you have understood some of the very basic commands, how to use them. So because we do not have much time left, let's not go into version control, but still I would just see how many of you are still like having questions. Okay. please repeat shell variables versus environment variables. Brahmteja, actually that in very simple terms, if you can say, it's a local variable and it's a global variable. In very simple terms, you can say like that, right? So this environment variables are set in these files, or they are generally created when you start your shell, right? So these variables are accessible to you right away, and these shell variables are, when you declare them, they will get lost when you restart your shell, right? Yeah, so Siddharth, I just said that we'll be adding some references so that you can go to explore some more shell commands, right? And there'll be 2 assignment problems that you have to solve using those reference material. You should practice. So there is a more of involvement from your side because you have to practice these commands, right? And just read the reference material and try to solve the assignment problem. So that is your basically task after the session. So basically you will be forgetting these commands if you don't use them, right? And we will be using them often in our dev sessions, starting from the from the next week probably, because we'll be going through Python in the next few days, and also we'll be going through version control in the next session, right? Okay, so there'll be no such prerequisites for version control. Make sure that you have Git installed before the next session. Okay, and also make sure that you have Python installed, because we will try to start with Python also. So these are 2 prerequisites for the next session. If possible, you can install PyCharm. So it's up to you mostly. You can use a text editor like VS Code. So both of them, any of them could work. So these are IDEs or editors that would be mostly up to you, which one you want to use. Okay. Yeah, Atom would also do. So any editor you can use. So basically Git is actually some kind of software that allows us to do version control. So since we do not have much time left, we will start from here in the next session. Right? So let's not do much today after this, because you probably won't be able to follow along, and we also have almost exhausted our time for the day. Right. So basically, we will be starting with Python after we are done with version control. So make sure you have installed it, and then I'll be generally using VS Code for the Python sessions, and mostly for the Django sessions as well. We will be using VS Code. So you can also download the PyCharm ID. So when we'll start with Python and Django, then we will be exploring more in this, right? Okay. So some of you had the common doubt that what exactly is piping. So let me just repeat that. Basically, it's something like this. So let's get to the shell scripting folder. So let's say that we have this words.txt. I just want to find out how many words match the pattern py. So you can see that all these words are matching. Let me just close this shell and get back. Just give me one moment. Now you see that cd hyphen does not take me to the previous directory because the history is lost, right? That's why actually this variable, there must have been some kind of variable to track the previous path, right? So you can think about that as well. It's an interesting exercise. Okay. Try to explore how internally this cd hyphen command works. So now we just wanted to see the piping command, as most of you had doubts in that. So let's say we want to find out the words that match the pattern py. So as you can see, these all words match the pattern py. Now we want to have the count of these words, right? Okay, Sambit, I will try to see if that is possible. So now we have grep py words.txt. We want to simply give this output of the grep command as an input to the word count command, right? So what we know is this word count command actually counts the number of words. So we simply want to give this as the output to the wc command. So this pipe command simply takes in the output of the grep command and gives this as the input to the wc command, right? So you can have output of one command tied to the input to the other command, right? That's what this pipe operator does. Okay, so you see that there are 12 words that start with the word py. Yes, so we are just revisiting one of the doubts, and like mostly this is it for today's session. So there are a few polls that I needed to launch. So if possible, if you could all wait for 5 more minutes, that would be really great. So that would be really great. So just let me just check if you have any other doubts. Fine. So I'll just launch a couple of polls to understand more, like how much experience you have with Git. Like, have any one of you worked with Git and GitHub before? So just as to have a fair idea. Okay, there seems to be around 60% of students who have worked. Okay, that's great. That's great. And what kind of experience do you all have in web development? Like, have you created any simple static website before? If you haven't any if you do not have any experience, just react with a no. Okay, okay. So we'll be starting from very simple, from the basics. So after the end of the couple of sessions next week, at least the Feb end, you will be able to create a simple interactive web application, right? Using Django framework. So just let me also launch a couple of more polls regarding the session timings. So basically, does anyone has any issues with the 8:30 p.m. timings? So there are a lot of batches here. Actually, some of the batches had 8 p.m. as their earlier timing. Some had 9 p.m. So we actually have to come to one suitable timing. So I think 8:30 works for most of you, right? Okay. Okay, okay. 8:30 works for all of you, right? Most of you. Fine. Just one more short poll. So which of the following lecture duration would be the most suitable for you? So like today we have taken around 1.5 hours. So I think if we try to extend, then most of you might not be able to grasp everything, right? Okay, Sudarshan is asking, can you please explain the last quiz problem? Fine, so let me just get to it, one moment. So are you saying the words count problem, Sudarshan? So basically, actually, let me just show you. So it's this command. So basically what we are doing, we are first matching this pattern in words.txt and then giving this as an input to the word count command, right? So we have just used this pipe to give output of one as the input to the other, right? Okay, awesome. So okay, so Nandini says that it's not possible to join at 8:30. So we'll try to see, like generally the session starts around 8:40. So 10 minutes we usually have discussions and we'll be discussing any of the previous problems. So basically the main concept that we start usually starts at 8:40, 8:45. So I hope that works for all of you. So we'll see if we can possibly split your batches, because currently we have a uh, lot of like students also, and we do have 4 batches combined, so it's hard to cater to timings for all of you, right? So basically we have to try to uh, come to some better solution. So basically we'll intimate you about that soon. And I guess that's it from our side then, everybody. So we'll start with version control and make sure that you have it installed before the next session. And most likely we'll also start with some very basics of Python in the next session itself, right? Make sure you have both these things and you try out all these commands, both the extra reference material and also try to solve the assignment problems, right? Fine, then if anybody has any doubts, you could also ask in your Scalar chat groups. So we will be there to respond to you. Okay. Fine, then if anybody has any further doubts, let's just wait for them. So I'll just start doubts, and if you have further doubts in any of the questions that we have discussed, like in any of the commands that we have discussed. But mostly you will be able to appreciate it once you try them yourselves, right? No cost, though we won't be using them. That's just like most of the times you have to configure your bash rc file. So thank you everyone for attending this session. Mostly you will be using the shell variable or the environment variables when dealing with the bash rc configuration. Shibham, I will be adding pre-lecture content to the next session. You can find the instructions there, right? I'll be adding it in your dashboard itself. Okay, so just look at the extra reference material and the pre-lecture content for the next session. Fine. Yeah, we'll be confirming with the class timings from the for the next session in your groups directly. So the command prompt, is it a shell? Athav is asking. Yes, exactly. It's kind of a shell program, right? So it's kind of a shell program, Athav. It does almost the same thing. Viraj, we have to press a forward slash and then type the pattern we want to match. Atharv, I think in command prompt it's not possible. You have to use either WSL or the git bash. So try installing the git bash or the WSL if it's there inbuilt. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Actually, that has a different version of the commands in the command prompt. Yes, Alok, if you are using Ubuntu 16.4 LPS, that's completely okay. Abhijit, it's okay if you don't know what exactly kernel is because it's an operating system concept. So it's not exactly required at this point. No, Shivam, that's completely okay. You can use WSL. I think that should not be a problem. Okay, fine then all of you. I think that's it. We do not have further doubts. So take care all of you. Bye and see you the next time. So we'll start with version control and we'll be starting with Python soon. And then from next week, we'll start with Django. So hope you all are excited and see you the next time. Bye. Thank you everyone for attending. Bye.